All right, welcome back to what is normally Define the Relationship podcast, but for this series is a bit of a Seeds memoir. And today we have a super special guest with us, a good friend, Robin. Robin Clausen, used to be Clausen, but now Doerksen. And Robin was a part of a very significant first number of years at Seeds, and we've kept in touch over the years. So we wanted to have Robin back on and
why don't you welcome?
I was going to.
Okay, I just
ask her some questions.
Just leaving her hanging there.
And this is the introduction.
Hello.
So welcome here, Robin.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
We are sitting here in our house, in our addition room, and really glad that you and your partner Bruce could come and hang out with us and share a meal with us and let us pick your brain. We're gonna pick each other's brains about the past, and we've already kind of all recognized that our memories are perhaps not always the most reliable, but there's got to be some stuff in there that's right and real, right?
Oh, true. Yes, for sure.
So Robin, tell us a little bit about how you came to Seeds. What is your recollection of how that connection got started?
So my recollection is Darlene coming into my flower shop one day.
Which was in the mall.
Yeah, I had a flower shop in the mall. And here
Petals and Wings.
Petals and Wings,
there,
yes.
I remember that now.
Yep, that was the name of it. And here waddles in Darlene, very, very pregnant with Micah, and struck up a conversation probably about what I'm known for mostly in Altona is incident of my son Tyler Pelkey. Let's call it what it is. The murder of Curtis Clausen and the attempted murder of my son Tyler Pelkey. Because that's what people know me by. Oh, they know me by a lot of things, but that's probably the most prevalent.
Well, and this would have been when I waddled, as you said, waddled into the flower shop. It was 1998.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I know. I want to pause just to acknowledge that. The murder of Curtis Clausen and the attempted murder of your son, obviously. Many people who are listening to this have connections to that and know a lot about it. And we could talk an entire podcast about your journey with that, which isn't, maybe we should do that someday.
Maybe someday, but
yeah.
For now, this is about a memoir for Seeds, so.
Yeah, but so in 1998, when I walked into the shop, still that's how I don't think I had ever had a conversation with you, but I knew that something, that this huge event had happened in your life and was obviously still a current struggle.
And I think even that initial conversation, we probably talked about some of that as we were introducing ourselves to each other. And I don't think that was the end of the visits to the flower shop. I think that was the first time, the beginning. At least, if my memory serves me right, that initial meeting led into other meetings and you talking about the idea of starting this church, and maybe it was even in the works by then. Was it in the works by then?
Yeah, I think it was maybe at the very beginning.
The very beginning.
But it was only when Micah was born. If I was still pregnant, it was still something that we hadn't fully said yes to. So It was only after Micah was born.
And I think things just evolved. I was probably looking for a different place of worship. By then Tyler was out of the house. And my spiritual life wasn't happening the way I wanted it to in the church we were going to. So, here we go. Here's an opportunity. And I think it just evolved from there, thinking and you talking about this happening, and it just intrigued me because, I'm always one who wants to get in on everything. I like starting up things and, helping here and there. And that was just my thing. And it just really intrigued me. And I guess I just fell in love with you at that point. And so it just went from there. And then here we are. We're at the school having the first Sunday services. Yeah. In this tiny little music room.
Yeah.
With maybe 20 people. I don't know. Did it start off with 20 people, if that?
Well, on the very first Sunday, we had about 130. Like the very first. And then we grew it all the way down, probably to half of that. So maybe in the 50s and 60s. But yeah, it was a small group. And I mean,
I didn't remember that very well, did I? 20 people.
No. I mean, it's these memories are elusive. The funny thing that I was thinking about is when we ask you the question, like, when did you start connecting to seeds? It's a hard question for me to answer because I just, in those early, 5, 6, 7 years, couldn't imagine seeds without you being a part of it. It was sort of like seemed like you were always a part of something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's sort of like when somebody becomes so involved, it's like, well, weren't you always there? Like, but you weren't until, like, you weren't in the original 15 that got things going. And,
no, I definitely wasn't.
Yeah.
No.
And another thing I remember about it is that space we met in, like, it had some aesthetic challenges.
Absolutely.
There was filing cabinets and there was all kinds of things on the wall, and
it was a band room.
It was a band room.
It was a band room.
And every Sunday was an attempt to kind of somehow create a space that felt a bit more like a place where we could connect to God and do something. And you've always been a person that visual, like, designing. Like, your flower shop was all about designing floral bouquets and stuff like that. And so you got very involved with us on sort of the visual side right away.
On that level, yes, for sure. Right from the beginning. And I remember sitting before a service, I don't know which one, but it was still in the school, and thinking, this is hard to get into a spiritual place when it's so stark here. Mm-hmm. And that was my experience. Probably not a lot of people's experience, but I guess that's just part of who I am. And sometimes I have to see things to feel things, and wanted other people to feel things. And that's just been my thing.
Yeah.
One of the things that comes to my mind is that we tried to cover up some of the binders and stuff like that with these long,
those velour drapes or whatever,
turquoise or something fabric. We had
right.
Do you remember that?
I do remember some of that. Yeah.
I wonder if you're the one that came up with that idea to do that. But
and then we started. I think that's when I started making banners with.
What kind of banners do you remember making?
Well, I remember they were made with unbleached cotton, and then I would paint words on them.
Right.
And this was part of what we were setting up Seeds to be. We were brainstorming about what we wanted the space to be, and what we wanted it to, we wanted to make people feel welcome. So things like, what were some of the words? I still have a banner at home.
Really?
In my stuff, yes, I have one long banner still with all the words on it. I think simplicity was one. Transparency. What were some of those early words? Do you remember some more of them? There was at least 12.
Well, in
generosity,
peace,
yes, peace,
openness, connection.
Yes. Yeah.
What I'm enjoying about this conversation is we had vision, we had a sense that we wanted worship to be kind of multisensory. So that visual is really important.
Right.
But also sound and stuff like that. But we're like, let's be honest, we didn't know what we were doing. Like we were trying to figure things out, and we were trying to do it on a budget and in space that wasn't ideal. And we were just, oh, what can we do to try to make something seem a little bit more engaging to a certain type of person who wanted to be engaged in a way that was important to them. And you were a person that came in there and was like, well, yeah, that's important to me. Let's try some things like visual banners. Some of the display, we were looking at pictures. We were going through kind of the photo album here and seeing displays for Christmas or Easter, things like that. And lots of experimenting with ideas.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh, go ahead.
I remember one display specifically that it was an Easter display. Did we have it at the school? Maybe you guys would remember, but it was a cross that we made. Do you remember that? And we
with mosaic tile?
No.
Okay.
The cross was made out of wood.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And it was
you
quite
helped us make a
big.
mosaic one too.
I did?
Yeah.
See, I don't remember that. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
But
But I had a personal experience with the one that I'm thinking of.
Okay, tell us about it.
And I don't remember if it was at the school or if it wasn't until we were in the church.
Yeah.
The exchange.
I think it was at the exchange.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I just remember that Easter. I don't remember what year it was or anything, but I remember setting it all up. And I don't know what was happening. Like I said, I don't remember the year, but I remember sitting at the foot of that cross and just baring my soul and crying. And it just was so significant for me. A personal experience. But how did that affect other people? I don't know. I'd be interested to know if there's some people out there that had some impact with. Because obviously if it's going to impact me, it's going to impact others, I think. But that was really impactful for me. So doing these things and providing these visuals and stuff, I just think that it was part of who I was meant to be. And that I guess it provided me with a lot of healing and self-growth and all of that kind of stuff, you know, like, I don't know.
I think those are good words. And I think healing, your time at Seeds was actually, now we've realized, was actually quite short because you moved to the city, to Winnipeg in 2007, you said, right?
Right, yeah.
And the years you were going through a lot.
I was, yeah.
And do you, like, partially connected maybe to that beginning is maybe, like what attracted you there? I mean, you talked about us meeting, but there was a longing in you for, like, trying to reconcile all that you were going through in your life and being a part of a church community that joined you on that journey too.
Oh, yes, definitely. Hugely. But why was I drawn to it? I don't know. I think God draws you to places that you need to be. I needed to be there.
And it was reciprocal, like just
I guess it was.
When I think about like the things that you did for the community, but also the places where you needed the community.
Right.
So it wasn't just like, it was you bringing all your creative gifts and all your like wild visions of whimsy Christmases and the ways that you brought your creativity and your art to the community. But also then I think about significant times where the community kind of joined you on this really difficult journey of healing and hopefully also provided some things for you.
Oh, totally. Totally provided me with, so much love, support, mostly love. You know, I think that's just huge. And way more healing, like so much more. Just self-satisfaction of being part of this community and the caring of everyone, and just, it was great. I haven't found it since I left to move to Winnipeg, so that says a lot.
Aww.
I haven't found a place that I fit in like that, or that I want to be part of. maybe that's what, I just haven't found it since.
Yeah.
What are some of your memories of, so we've talked a little bit about how you kind of started to connect to seeds, but later you were part of a couple of ventures, I think, that happened through seeds. One was the Soul Cafe.
True. That was fun.
What do you remember about the Soul Cafe?
Well, I remember one of the things that I remember most is Candace and I painting that floor. We made it look like red brick.
Yeah.
And the whole setup was wonderful. Like, it was just a great adventure putting it all together. So much fun. And so I remember the actual construction and setup of it, but I also remember the events that we had there. I remember baking cheesecakes that we sold at the Soul Cafe for when we had Friday night or whatever nights we had them. I think it was Friday and Saturday nights we opened up.
And who named it the Soul Cafe anyway? Like, doesn't SOL kind of mean something? I know I'm only leading you to swear right now.
Well, Seeds of Life, SOL.
Or
soul is the Spanish word for sun. There's all these really good reasons.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know any other things.
And then later, I feel like we came a Soul Cafe, SOL, and then other people were like, doesn't that also mean
yes,
shit
it does.
out of luck?
Shit out of luck.
Okay, we just lost our rating on Apple Podcasts. Now we gotta...
I don't think I ever thought of it that way, honestly.
No.
I don't know. Candace and I came up with that name, I think.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. Like, maybe we had a name contest. Maybe we picked out a few names.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I don't
The
really
intent
know.
was like an evening kind of coffee place. It was like, no, there's not a lot of places to
Yeah.
go in Altona.
That's
in the
right.
evening.
There was an authentic Italian espresso machine.
There was.
So we could do actual special drinks, and which is just like, you have to have that these days.
For sure.
The other unique thing about it was we didn't have prices. Like, everything was by donation. So people were encouraged to give as much as they could.
That's
and
right.
Some people couldn't give as much, then they could get a drink for almost nothing. And other people would, which is a model that there's businesses today that are operating. Eat a Bread in Winnipeg is a bakery where they do that. People can actually pre-buy for people, and then someone comes in who's on social assistance and they can grab a thing
loaf
and
of
take
bread.
a loaf of bread.
That's great.
So, and then the proceeds were all going to build a village, which was at the time was the El Salvador
That's
housing
right.
build stuff for the earthquake, and then later became refugee welcoming work. So
Right.
it had big vision. And
It did.
Yeah.
I remember
Go ahead.
Jake Fair building us chairs.
Oh, right.
And we were collecting tables from everywhere,
Right.
and I remember him having some kind of a workshop with some of the youth, I think,
Yeah.
and they were building chairs too and painting them the colors.
Yeah.
And so
that
that's how
in
we got our
conjunction?
chairs.
Yeah, but they were all kind of had a very like Latin American kind of vibe with
For sure.
multicolors, and everything was very vibrant.
Oh, it was very vibrant. I mean, getting the tiles, I think we ordered those tiles online or something, and they came and we tiled the backsplash, and Dean came and did that beautiful knockdown plaster on the walls for us.
Right.
And did the red brick that we had kind of broken on the
Yeah.
walls.
Looked like it was exposed brick.
Yeah, exposed brick.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was just so exciting. It was so much fun to do that. It's just right in my element.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. that cafe.
I don't
was a lot
remember
of
how
fun.
long it all lasts. Like, obviously, there was one of the challenges was sustaining volunteers
Right.
to keep it going and keeping it open enough times. And I mean, to this day, the words being uttered, what Altona needs is a really good cafe, continues to be asked.
Oh, my goodness.
And there's still
And
always
it's
vision
sitting
about
right there.
Yeah, and there's vision for space. Like, oh, what could we do here? And could we have a patio and stuff? But you know,
Yeah.
that was an experiment. We really tried to make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. And then even when there wasn't events, I mean, I remember coming early Sunday mornings and opening the cafe so that it was open for people before the service or after the service. It would be open for a little while. We had some volunteers that would do that. But yeah, that's the biggest problem is volunteers. It's probably still the biggest problem today.
Yeah.
It's always hard to get volunteers.
And now actual businesses have trouble having enough employees to keep their
Exactly.
things open.
Yeah.
So it's not just a
So,
not just a volunteer thing.
yeah, so that was
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
I mean, it was a big deal. We're looking here at a newspaper article from the Winnipeg Free Press from 2004 in the Manitoba Town and Country section. And there in the front of the section is Soul Cafe answering coffee lovers' prayers.
There we go.
Yeah, it was a good, no donation, no problem. So, yeah.
And I think it provided a space also for conversation and communication when even it was just you guys at the church through the week, whatever, like, didn't it? You just went and made yourself a latte and had a meeting with someone and
Yeah, it was a space that got used for connecting with people.
connecting with people. That's what it was all about, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Connecting with people. And
In the last 2 years with the birth of the community exchange, which I haven't had a lot of chances to talk to you about, but a lot of that's happening in greater ways through that space now, which is exciting. But it was already happening a little seeds of it in the earlier years.
Yeah.
well, you always have to plant a seed before it grows, right?
Yeah.
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 Seeds of life.
Yeah.
Look at where
Almost
you've come.
fits, doesn't it,
Kinda,
Robin?
Yeah, it's just like perfect.
So another significant, this is shifting us a little bit, another significant place that you offered that wasn't at the building. Now we're not talking about the school and we're not talking about the church building, but your home and yard where we had quite a few baptisms. You guys had a pool in the backyard, and every summer we would have our baptism services around your pool. Tell us a little bit about what that was like for you.
Oh, that was just incredible. Like, baptisms were great. I don't know. That was just an exciting thing to do. And same thing, we would set up visuals, and I think we had some pictures that we made or something that we would put up outside. And, we had our worship team, music team come and they would play music. And, we were lucky. We had almost an acre yard, so we had lots of room for everyone to just come around the pool. And just the way the pool was set up, it was like it was meant to be when we were setting up the pool,
Yeah.
We had a deck around it only partially, and then everyone could just stand around and see all of the things that were going on. And lots of people. I don't remember them all, but I know them. If you told me their name, I'd say, yeah, for sure, but I just don't remember everyone. Because, I'm almost 70. So I don't have a very good memory. But I still have lots of pictures. I wish I would have looked at them before I came today.
Yeah, it would have maybe jogged your memory.
Yeah, it would have jogged my memory. But how many years did we do that?
Well, as long as you were there, I think.
We did it every year that you were a part of Seeds.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right up till
probably
2000.
when you moved was probably when that house was no longer. Do you remember when the house was sold?
Well, it was sold in November of 2007.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know you didn't have it that year.
Yeah.
Because that, yeah. And I'm not sure if you had it in 2006 either, but probably you did.
Yeah, I remember doing baptisms all kinds of places, like on the Pembina River, we did a baptism in somebody's pond in their backyard, and we were pretty much, if there was enough water for someone to get baptized, we'd probably, if that's where they wanted to do it, we would do it. And
right. And I think you did have some people that wanted to be baptized in certain places. Like I remember going to a baptism even when I was still part of the church. And I thought we went out somewhere when we were at a retreat.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, Cedarwood.
At Cedarwood, we would go on the beach.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, we did many there too.
Yeah,
that's right.
For sure. I remember that. But yeah, it was definitely every year. How often do we baptize people? I don't know.
Whenever they want.
Okay, so at our place, it had to be in the summer because it was a summer pool.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, but that was pretty exciting for me. That was always.
And then it was a pool party after that.
Yes.
Because,
right.
Okay, we're here. Let's go swimming.
You're welcome to stay and swim. Yeah, for sure. That was the way it was.
Our kids were little and watched. I have this image kind of burnt into my brain of being around your, like on that platform part that you said, like with a little bit of a deck. And my kids were little and their feet were dangling in the water and they watched someone get baptized, and then they asked, or I think it was Annika that said, can I do this? I want to do this.
Wow.
And we were like, maybe we can talk about that. Let's talk about that. You're 5 years old right now.
And this is not our style in our tradition to do that with 5-year-olds.
No,
so
it's
we
not.
were sort of like, yeah.
There was something about it that drew them
to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Those were, what's the word? I mean,
formative.
But they're just marker events that I just have. I mean, I can just see people, and I mean, you mentioned a bunch of people getting baptized. I could probably add another twice as many of those people, that seeing pictures and stuff that were all, some of them are still part of Seeds to this day. And some people have moved on to other places, just like you've moved on to, somewhere else. But in that season, sometimes it's a short season and some it's a longer season. Seeds was a significant part of people's lives.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it speaks of, I'd love to dive into that.
Yeah. So,
more, but
I mean, like we were kind of thinking like, we're not going to talk about the Drumheller visit, but since you brought this up, I think it's important to say that like one of the significant things that happened during your time at Seeds was that you were on this process of, just metabolizing the trauma that you experienced and trying to come to grips with it, and being a part of a Christian community where one of the fundamental kind of central tenets of our faith is around forgiveness.
True.
And enemy love, which is one of the most radical kind of visions of what love might look like. And so that wasn't just something like, we're called to love our enemies and we're called to forgive people that have harmed us. Like you actually walked a real journey of trying to actually do that in a real way. And you and Darlene, I don't remember what year that was, but you made the trip the way to Drumheller Correctional Facility in Alberta to sit face to face with the perpetrator of the trauma against your son and of Curtis.
True.
And that was, it was a really significant event for you, as significant for Darlene being a part of that. But at the same time, here, how many years later, there's still this wrestle and this kind of reality between sort of the, not to overemphasize it, but the hate and the love, like you just said, if you're in the love piece, this is what you think about, but you also have to deal with the real pain and suffering I think hate was the wrong word that I used. I would rather say anger and love. Yeah.
Because I don't know that there's hate.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe there is.
really,
So maybe
really strong anger, right?
So maybe I have to
As
use.
soon as you say, I don't think there's hate. Okay, then there's a counter. I don't think that's totally true.
Okay, so maybe there's 3 words that I deal with
Yeah.
in the struggle. It's hate, anger, and love.
Yeah.
And
And they coexist.
They do. They coexist
exist together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, they do. Yeah. Unfortunately, they do.
Yeah. Yeah. And you were a powerful example to all of us about what it's like to really wrestle with that. I mean, unfortunately, you were in a place where you had the experience that gave you the opportunity to wrestle with those hard things, and not all of us have that journey to deal with it, but you showed us what it was like to really walk through it and do courageous things and I heard all about it from Darlene, secondhand, but what happened was quite powerful.
Yeah, for sure. For me too.
Yeah.
It
Didn't change everything forever either, right? Like
No.
part of it is that.
No, but what it really did for me, which I struggle with, coming back, and we've talked about this, remember at the airport coming home. And how am I going to come home and tell my son that I feel this outpouring of love for him? That was really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't make sense.
No, it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. And yet I don't know if that part is what made him want to go, but something made him want to go.
Yeah.
So, I think we both went for different reasons. I don't know. Or maybe we went for the same reasons, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this is a whole new story, different.
No, I mean, this is...
It's good because for me, it's good. Part of our reason for doing this podcast is that Ted and I are bringing to close kind of 25 years of stories and leadership at Seeds. And for me, the story with you is one of my significant markers,
Right. Definitely one of mine.
So there's, the lots of positive stories around the baptisms and around, space and all that kind of stuff. But the big one for me is the community and what the community did together, kind of walking with you, but also what you and I experienced in going to Drumheller and sitting face to face with Earl. And that whole, Ted was talking about the Christian kind of calling to forgiveness, but that was never in my experience, not something that was a given or something that was laid upon you, or that I felt well, you have to do this. You must.
No.
But I remember conversations in Petals and Wings in that flower shop about forgiveness because you were struggling with it.
Yes.
You were well, I have questions about this. How does one do this? And well, thank you for sharing little bits and pieces of your memories. And is there anything else that you'd like to say about?
Well, I really enjoyed the community of Seeds. And even though you were the one who went to Drumheller with me, you're right, there was a lot of support in my journey there through everyone in the church, a lot of people in the church. Many of the people that went there then, I don't know if those people are still there because I haven't been there for a long time. I know that you've grown.
I'm remembering that right before we went to Drumheller, we had a dinner.
Yes.
At the exchange.
A send-off, yes.
And
there was a lot of people there who prayed us off on our way and just Yeah.
They were in your corner.
They were. And that in itself gives you the encouragement to go, like, yeah.
Like this feeling that you can do this
Yeah.
really hard thing.
Yeah.
You've got people behind you.
Yeah.
You knew all about that before that podcast ever came out.
Oh, I did?
Well, yeah,
Oh,
you knew
okay.
you could do hard things.
Oh, yeah. I think I've always known that I could do hard things. I think I was born that way. I mean, and that's the other thing is, most of the people that go to Seeds really knew me from that particular incident.
Right.
They have no idea of my background of when from when I was a child. Like, I had a difficult life right from the get-go. So, I was just one of those chosen ones to get through these things. Yeah. So, yeah. And that's a whole new podcast.
I'm seeing spin-offs.
Maybe I need to start my own podcast, guys.
It's not that difficult, Robin.
Well, yeah, this kind of looks expensive, this equipment. Another hobby, Bruce. Joy,
one orchid, one microphone. I mean, really, you're just going to have to give up an orchid.
Yeah, true. That's really true. Anyway.
Thanks so much, Robin.
This was fun.
Yeah, it was good. It was it's good having the conversation because I remember stuff because we've had the conversation.
Yeah.
That I didn't remember before.
And maybe I'll start remembering some more things since we've had the conversation. But the best part of this is that I get to be here with you guys today. So